Robin Lundberg Show live with you once again here on the YouTube, the Facebook, the X machine, all those things. And I got to tell you guys, it's pretty exciting because whenever I check my phone and the YouTube app on my phone, I see so many more comments all the time on various videos. Not just the LeBron is better than Jordan thing either. Like all the other videos are starting to pick up when it comes to comments, which is encouraging to me. Obviously makes me feel like a community could be building here a little bit and gives me some confidence as far as my ability to get the people going. In fact, we got a comment on this show before it even started, before it was even live. Clove on Your Neck Hip Hop Talk says, dope as you know what, don't like it, don't watch. AEW for life. WWE got nothing on these boys. Only good thing about WWE is Cody. AEW doing 5 6-star matches. WWE is producing 4s and 3s. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a 6-star match. I am a little bit live a little earlier than normal. As I told you guys, the start times will be a little bit flexible here as I figure out the perfect formula, as I work around my own schedule, as I work around live events and other people's schedules. But I didn't feel like it made much sense to open with this Darby Allin topic if I was going to do it right in the middle of AEW Dynamite. So appreciate the comment to start it off, Clove on Your Neck Hip Hop Talk. I agree with some of what you said. I do think the spot itself, the Darby Allin spot, was pretty cool. I do. It was a pretty cool spot, I have to admit. As far as let me put the comment back up for a second. The AEW for life thing, that's the tribalism that internet wrestling fans get caught up in. That, like, you don't have to be AEW or WWE. I prefer WWE's product to AEW's product. Because I'll say it, at the risk of the haters coming at me, I'm more into the sports entertainment aspect than just the work rate aspect. Just the, match quality is not the only thing that matters to me. And I think that's what AEW lacks more than anything else, is those memorable moments that you take away that aren't some insane spot or some pushing of the envelope. But with that said, AEW has been great for the business. They made WWE step their game up. They brought a renewed energy into wrestling. They brought a new fan base into wrestling, that's really hardcore and really supportive, and it's really cool to see. Anytime I do a video around AEW, it seems like the AEW people are there. Whether I'm mocking them or not, they're there. And people are still talking about the Darby Allin glass spot, if you haven't seen it, which is a success in a sense, right? If people are still talking about it. Now, they're not talking about Sting's retirement, so you could make the argument it took the shine away from Sting's retirement a little bit. You could also make the argument it was reckless and dumb. I mean, you could easily make that argument, and it could have put the fans in danger and all that. I did a little video earlier today where I did a bit about it, where I said, leave the glass breaking to the professionals, and then cut to Stone Cold's music. It was just a joke. Some people got a little riled up, but that was really just a joke more than anything else. Danny Adams, it was one of the craziest things I've seen. Can't believe he did that. I don't know if everybody necessarily has seen it yet. So let me, here's the thing. If you're watching this later, I apologize if I have to trim this part of the video out. It happens sometimes. I don't know how strict AEW is with these sort of things or not. It happens with footage all the time. So I might get dinged for a copyright later. And if you're watching this later, that's why it's removed. That's why it'll seem a little awkward. So just giving you the heads up for those people. But let me show the people who may not have seen this yet, because this is I think, a good crossover topic. You don't have to watch wrestling to have an opinion on this. Here's the Darby Allin spot from AEW Revolution.
Darby! For the love of God, what have we seen?
Jim Ross on the call. That's appropriate, right? Here it is again. One more time. From a ladder through the glass. Don't do that at home. Don't try that at home. Okay? Here's the thing. There is a part of me that wants to go and rail on it and say that was stupid and dumb and took away from Sting's retirement. There's a part of me. And because that is what people are talking about after Sting's final match and send-off. And when you look at the career of Sting, it's an interesting one. Because to me, Sting maybe the most famous or the biggest non-WWE wrestler of all time. When I mean he's not associated with WWE really at all. You know, Ric Flair is the other guy who I would say is in that category, because I remember going to my grandmother's house in Mississippi and seeing the Ric Flair action figures, the NWA action figures, along with Arn Anderson and all those guys at that time. You know, my mom's actually from Mississippi, and I would go down there, and my brother and I would rent the Coliseum home videos and the wrestling magazines and lock ourselves up in a bedroom and watch all those tapes. That's what we do. Watch pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view. And Ric Flair, it wasn't until, you know, he had that WWE run and the Royal Rumble, I want to say 1992, maybe his signature moment in WWE. So he then continued his career and had the Shawn Michaels send-off match. So there was enough there where I don't think Ric Flair isn't associated with WWE. Obviously, all the NWO guys were WWE guys. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and, of course, Hulk Hogan. Sting is the one guy who never really had that WWE run. He was there for a minute, but everybody thinks it was disappointing. He didn't get The Undertaker. People are mad he lost to Triple H and what have you. When you think of Sting, you think of WCW. And really, he was in TNA and obviously ended in AEW. And they did a nice job honoring Sting and treating his career with reverence and respect it deserves. But after that night, what are people talking about? The Darby Allin glass spot. And they're still talking about it today. And here's the gift and the curse with something like that. The gift is you're in the news cycle and you're discussed. The curse is I feel like AEW is always being discussed for something like that. Now, I preferred this to the Swerve Strickland, Hangman Page blood spot. That was just gross and disgusting to me. And that's the kind of thing that turns a casual wrestling fan off. Like if I'm trying to show somebody, my kids love wrestling. My wife doesn't really. But if I'm trying to show somebody what it is and why I love it, and they see that, and they're like, what the hell are you watching? He's drinking his blood. You know, that kind of, And then I feel like after every AEW major event, there's some sort of controversy. Wembley, you had CM Punk, of course. I mean, but when you're talking about standout moments that aren't shock and awe, it is CM Punk's debut there. It is moments like that drew the attention and drew the fan base and got people involved. Now, this is a little bit different. The problems are, one, the risk that you're taking. Two, does it take away from Sting's retirement? And three, if you're Darby Allin and this is what you become known for, how do you one-up it? That's a legitimate problem he's going to face. Because, now you're expecting him to come off of a bicycle off Mount Everest, through a flaming hoop of fire, and into a ring with sharks. Right? Like he keeps doing this. His whole, to me, from the outside looking in, his persona is like stuntman and crazy spot fest guy. And, that's not a sustainable gimmick. With that said, I'm a little hypocritical if I were to go all the way in on that. If I were to go all the way in on that, I'd be a little hypocritical because here's the thing. I actually showed the spot to my 2-year-old son, Rohan. Probably shouldn't have. But he kept asking me to run it back. Can I see that again, Daddy? Daddy, show me that again. Show me that again. So there is that, I think that's that innate test that shows you, wow, this is cool, right? And it does have that, wow, this is cool factor. And as somebody who, if I'm remembering things from my youth that captured my imagination and stood out the most to me, the two things would be, number one, Vince Carter in the slam dunk contest. Vince Carter in the slam dunk contest was sick. I'll always remember being there. It was like, holy shit, what this guy just did. Ooh, running around the house, And the other was Mick Foley, Hell in the Cell. As God is my witness, he's broken in half. I had the pleasure of emceeing an event with Jim Ross in the city. In fact, that picture came up on my Facebook timeline. Let me see if I can find it the other day. But I emceed an event in the city with Jim Ross at Gramercy Theater. It was his one-man show that he was doing at the time. And backstage, it was me, JR, Tommy Dreamer, and Mick Foley. Because Mick Foley was the surprise guest. He came out. Judah Friedlander was in the audience. He said I did a good job with the show. If you need me for any hosting gigs and emceeing gigs, I am available. Hit me up. I'm good at that. Public speaking, good at that too. But he, he came out and did his thing. Foley did. But I remember being backstage. Guy couldn't get up off the couch. One of the nicest people you ever meet. He could barely move. So that is the downside to it. But if I'm going to celebrate what Mick Foley did in that Hell in the Cell moment, it's a little hypocritical to crush Darby Allin. Same goes for Jeff Hardy, right? I mean, the TLC match is one of those standout matches too. WrestleMania 17, the Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian. I mean, that's one of those iconic matches. And that had, and Jeff Hardy was known for spots. Shane McMahon, hell, was known for spots. So as a lifelong wrestling fan, there is a part of me that hesitates to go in too hard on it. Though I do think, so I guess the answer to the question that I have posed below is it was both dope and dumb. Sometimes both are true. It was dope and dumb. Kev Du Taylor, what up, Robin? What up? I like saying hello to you guys, but, if you can participate in the combo too, it always helps. Fossil Ali says, I like Fanta with your beverage. As you've seen on this show, we need the sponsor, Polar Seltzer. I see the concurrence going up in the corner, this corner. By the way, again, these shows are starting to get more consistent viewership. When I started it, there was a big pop at the beginning, curiosity factor and all that. And then there were a couple of shows here and there that had big pops. But these last few days, that audience has been there. And like I said, the comment section is getting lit up on my page. Not just my YouTube page. YouTube page for sure. My Instagram page, my TikTok page, all that stuff. But, this YouTube is sort of the hub of this show. So I like seeing all the comments that are rolling in all the time. The fact that this comment was up before I even started the show today. I appreciate it. Because, there's a term that annoys me, and it's influencer nowadays. That's the buzzword for executives. Let's get a creator or an influencer. We got to get an influencer. How many TikTok followers do they have? Dog, I'm an influencer. I've been in this game for 20 years. You don't think I have influence? Get out of here. To go from terrestrial radio, to go from linear television to terrestrial radio to satellite radio to podcasting to websites to digital media to online social media and pop in every single one of those formats, whether it's the written word, the spoken word behind a camera as a producer. I'm an influencer, suckers. And it used to annoy me at SI or it does annoy me in retrospect at SI because I've done so many videos that got so many views. Like I said, that LeBron Jordan video, I think is still the biggest viewed video maybe in the history of the company. I did, just in this calendar year, double-digit videos in the millions and millions. I had one on the LSU library versus the LSU locker room. It's a funny little comedy bit. 5 million views on both Instagram and TikTok. And it didn't matter. No credit, right? It was all for the brand. But if they see somebody, if some of these suits see some person with followers who does this for a living, they're like, oh, we need an influencer. I'm your influencer right here, suckers. Malik says, prayers up for my guy, Woo. He's going through a health issues today. He's here listening with me. Well, Woo, I know who you're talking about. I wish the best for you, man. I hope it's not too serious. This is a special message straight out to you. I hope you're doing well. I was spinning 36 chambers yesterday. If that's any inspiration for you, what an album. Clan in the front. Let your feet stomp. So shout out to Wu. He says, "Hey Robin, call me Ali, better known as Real Eyes on." Okay, I'll call you whatever you want to be called, guys. I can call you whatever you would like to be called. But let me know if you thought the Darby Allin spot was dope or dumb. It was memorable, and in the wrestling business, that's what's important. People will remember that. So I can't totally shit on it. I will say AEW needs more moments that aren't shock and awe or shock value. Because look at contrasted to what's going on with WWE right now. You got memorable moments of Rock cutting a promo on his Instagram, or people throwing up the ones when Roman comes out, or the organic fan movement behind Cody Rhodes, or Mommy in Australia and just being there, the boos that Dominic Mysterio receives. You know, that's a Gunther and his in-ring work. So that, those are all the things that WWE is capable of building and doing that are sustainable, that people really, because a lot of wrestling moments aren't the spots that you remember, really, for the most part, because it's not just about 5-star matches. I mean, there's a place for that crowd. And in that sense, AEW is kind of like a cult following, right? It's like hockey fans. I always have the fun with hockey fans. They remind me of the band Fish, where I couldn't name a Fish song. But if I was out in front of Madison Square Garden for a Fish show, it would be sold out, right? Because the fans are there supporting. AEW did a great job appealing to that base, the wrestling fan. But in order to broaden the horizons as they go forward, I think they need to build on that a little bit. But that's all right. I think, that was a well-received show. They did well by Sting. So I'm not here to crush them tonight. But I did, I was going to talk about that, so I wanted to get it in before the AEW Dynamite show. I like the new set that they were showing off as well. One other topic I saw, I'm going to get to a few of them, but another topic I saw before the show was Nelly discussing his era of hip-hop. If you're new to the Robin Lundberg show, by the way, I cover a lot of basketball, rap, wrestling, and superhero stuff. Sports in general. I made my career in sports, but people know me for basketball. I'm big into hip hop and rap, a real hip hop head, and obviously the wrestling, which you just saw, and then the Marvel superhero stuff. So thus far, this show has been a kind of a blend of that, because I've seen success talking about all those topics. And I think there are a lot of people who share that, Venn diagram of interests, if you will. Eventually, maybe one gets leaned into more than the other, depending on the return, the results, what the fans are feeling. But as of right now, I've been rocking with each, because I've gotten the results from each. But Nelly made some comments about his era of hip-hop. Let me see. I think I can play them, or I can at least show you what he said. I think he said this on the Shop, LeBron's show. I don't know if it's still LeBron's show or it's Maverick Carter's show now, or whoever does that show. But here's what Nelly said. Nelly claims the 2000s was the toughest era in hip-hop ever. When I put out songs, I had to go against DMX, Jay-Z, Eminem, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, Luda. All of us are fighting for one spot. It's a pretty good point. I mean, it's a little different because of today's day and age, and what the now the landscape is so fractured, so it's harder to make an imprint. It's not like you could just be on radio and make an imprint. It's not like people are going out to buy your CDs. But Nelly had a run. Man, I remember hating on him a little bit when I was in college, because he wasn't a rapper. He was like sing-songy. And going down, and I thought I could do that. But when you do go back, what was the J lyric, the Hove lyric? Only dudes moving units, M, Pimp Juice, and us. I mean, Nelly, name dropped right there. And, Eminem was a phenomenon all to himself. And 50 Cent was obviously a phenomenon all to himself. When he came in, 50 came through like hurricanes do. I thought but Nelly mentioned DMX. I mean, I remember being in the gym in high school the first time I heard DMX, and my bench press just got. I used to be able to bench press a lot, by the way, back in the day. Stupid, hurt my shoulder doing it. But dum dum, round two, round two, round two, round two, you know what to go. Like DMX was huge for that couple of years. Huge. Eminem, just as big as when Marshall Mathers LP came out after Forgot About Dre, and then Eminem show in 8 Mile, just a monster. Obviously, Jay was there the whole time. 98 was volume 2, and that popped off. And same thing as Rough Riders. And he had Jigga on that joint. And then Big Pimpin' was on volume 3. And then I Just Want to Love You. I'm a Hustler, Baby was on Dynasty. And then Blueprint was after that, and so on. And so Black Album is during the same time period, which had hit after hit after hit after hit. Hove was there that whole time. But Nelly was big. I mean, Hot in Here is one of those massive records. There was a few off the first one. What was it called? Nellyville, right? There was a few off that joint. What was on there? Andale, andale, mama, ia, oh. In addition to Country Grammar. And I think, do you want to go and take a ride with me? That's like an all-time great song. And then he had the joint with Tim McGraw, right? It's all in my head. I'll keep going over and over again. So, I mean, Nelly had a run. I can't front. I can't hate on Nelly. I mean, he's right to want to stake his place and stake his claim and say, I did it. He's got every right to do that. Because that competition was there. I mean, you mentioned Dr. Dre in 2001 around that time, which came out in 1999, I think, I believe. But between 50 Cent and Eminem and Dr. Dre and Jay-Z, DMX, that was a lot of competition for Nelly. So I'm not going to hate Nelly's comments. I will like Nelly's comments. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Comment, share. After the fact, if you've noticed, if you comment later, I get back to the comments. I don't be missing on the comments. I try to get back to as many people as possible because it means the world to me that you guys interact, that you guys share, that you guys appreciate what I do. So I'm always in the comment section, both throwing them up live during the show and, of course, throwing them up and responding to them after the show. So shouts to Nelly. I think he made a point. I made another point earlier today, back to the sports world for a second, about the NBA play-in and how it could save the playoffs. Because I was looking at the standings earlier today. Let me see if I can just pull up the standings here for a second and show you the screen. Because if you look at what the NBA playoffs look like in the West, think about the teams that are close to missing the playoffs or could miss the playoffs. I mean, look at Dallas, the Lakers, the Warriors. Phoenix is just a game up. Of all the flack that the NBA catches, that was a really good idea, the play-in tournament. Because that's going to ensure that Kevin Durant's in the playoffs in some way, shape, form, or fashion, that LeBron James is in the playoffs in some way, shape, form, or fashion, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, so on and so forth. So, I have my issues. I grew up an NBA fan. I'm a lifelong NBA fan. It's my favorite sport. Always will be. Basketball is my favorite sport. I just picked up my son from his AAU basketball game. Shout out to or basketball practice. Shout out to Slow Mo in Fairfield. It's actually Kyle Anderson, Slow Mo, his program. Coach Mark over there did a really good job with Raj, where Raj got so much better off the dribble, where he can attack off the dribble now. He's only 9 years old, and that was a big advancement for him. So, I've always been a basketball guy, and this coach hoodie was for coaching basketball. And I've defended the league over the years, but there are things that irritate me. Load management, I think, irritates everybody. The effort in the All-Star game irritates me. The way the game is officiated and how you can't really play defense. All these different things. But credit where it's due, the play-in tournament was a genuinely good idea that I didn't know I liked when it first started. It had to grow on me. And then when you see what I just showed you now, how could you hate on the play-in tournament? How could you do it? It's not possible to hate on the play-in tournament. They did it was a really good innovation by Adam Silver to bring that in and get that going and get that rolling because it's going to ensure that guys like LeBron and Steph and Durant and Doncic don't miss the playoffs entirely. Because imagine if they did. I mean, that's a bummer. I mean, I know the other teams earned it. I'm not saying they should get any favoritism, but it's good for the sport when those guys are involved. It's a star-driven league, a star-driven sport. It's always been a star-driven sport. So credit to Adam Silver for that. And then the other thing I had on the rundown, I saw what happened with the Buffalo Bills and them releasing a bunch of players. And I just wanted to say this. I actually think Josh Allen is underrated. I think Josh Allen is underrated. It got to a point where maybe I don't think he's been underrated for long, but this year where people just wanted to get on him for the turnover issues. And I feel like it's a little silly because you look at all the touchdowns that he produces. Everything like that. So many touchdowns. So many different ways that he impacts the game and helps the team win. And will we ever in our damn life be talking about the Buffalo Bills if it were not for Josh Allen? He carries that team. So when that one voter gave him the MVP vote and everybody sort of revolted, I probably would have voted for him MVP. I probably would have. He's better than Lamar Jackson is. And I like Lamar. If I'm talking about the best players in the NFL, I think it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow in some order. I thought Jalen Hurts was on that trajectory, but he had a rough year this year with injury. Let's see how he bounces back. And then it's probably Lamar Jackson. But I say that amongst some of my coworkers at SI, and they lash out at me. How could you say Josh Allen's better than Lamar Jackson? I don't know. By every single possible measure. I mean, you look at the postseason, that's where Allen gets the flack, right? His postseason numbers are so much better than Lamar Jackson's. His record is better. His completion percentage is better. His touchdown to interception ratio is better. And his rushing numbers are the same. How's he not better? We wouldn't give a damn about the Buffalo Bills if we weren't talking about Josh Allen. He's the only reason they're relevant. And people forget the Bills. Remember when they made the playoffs that one year with Tyrod Taylor? That whole time between Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, James Lofton, Bruce Smith, and Josh Allen, they made the playoffs, I think, once. And now they're there every year because of Josh Allen. And people talk about the turnovers like he ain't lead the entire league in touchdowns. And you watch that Chiefs-Bills game. If you think Josh Allen was the reason they lost, you're out of your mind. I'm sorry, you're out trying to hate. And I don't say he's better than Lamar Jackson as a way to diss Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson is a great player and an unbelievable talent, a freakish athlete who's gotten better as a passer as the years have gone by. All due respect to Lamar Jackson. I just think Josh Allen's better. So I saw the Bills releasing their players and making moves and shuffling the decks a little bit, and it made me think of that. So I just wanted to make that point. Because I think because of the blowback that he got this year a little bit, Josh Allen became a little bit underrated. What do you guys think about that? See a bunch of comments still coming in on the topic I opened the show with, the Darby Allin glass spot, structure of the show. Kevin Zwicker, who's a regular. As someone who was in the building for Revolution, the whole crowd loved the spot. And the reports say AEW took extra precaution for it, so believe it was epic. I'm biased, though. Look, it's okay to be biased. we all like what we like. And again, I think it was both dope and dumb. Like I said, but mostly dope because nobody. I mean, look, if somebody had gotten hurt, if some of the fans had gotten hurt, worse, if we knew maybe if more comes out, then I could go the other way. But first of all, you shouldn't judge things. That's stupid of me, intellectually dishonest to wait for the result to judge things. It was dumb, right? Like you can't say jumping off a ladder through glass isn't dumb. It's just a dumb thing to do. In general, no diss, no insult. That's a dumb thing to do. But damn, did it look dope. I'll give you that. And we're still talking about it. Michael Martin says he's referencing Dave Meltzer's star ratings. Is that the comment from the top of the show that we're discussing? Meltzer's star ratings go to 6. I've talked to Meltzer at SI a bunch because there was like a relationship with the Wrestling Observer and SI. I think he's referencing this comment. I didn't know Meltzer's star ratings went to 6. I thought 5-star was the top you could do. Why are we going to 6? 5 is good. Like it's either 5. You don't have to go beyond what the top score is. If it's a 5-star match, you get it. It's a classic. The Allen Glass spot was epic. Yes, it may have stolen the spotlight from the Stinger, but it's something as a wrestling fan I'll never forget. Fair enough. Look, one thing you'll learn about me, I'm not a hater. I'm not out to just hate on things and clown things. And, I'll troll a little bit in a good-natured way, because I know certain fan base, like I did with the Jordan fans the other day. Because who would have thought Jordan fans would be so sensitive, right? Like their hero is supposed to be this like tough competitor that never backs down. And then they like lash out at the second you say somebody might be better than Michael Jordan. How dare you say that? And then you know what they do? They call names too. LeBum. Like once you start calling names and calling LeBron fans, what do they call them? Bronsexuals. Once you start doing that, you lose. You lose the argument. It shows you have no actual point when you resort to those tactics. So I have a little fun. AEW fans, same thing, because they're so hardcore in support of AEW sometimes. And then, Meltzer's the kind of guy like the match he usually gives Ospreay 5-plus-star matches. Like, look, that only takes you so far. It really does. It only takes you so far. You want to be a real star in the wrestling business? It doesn't matter what your 5-plus-star matches are. Sorry. How many 5-plus-star matches does Roman Reigns have? And it's also how you define a 5-plus-star match, because I know we're not supposed to talk about him, but that Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match at SummerSlam a few years back, one of the best matches I've ever seen. 5 stars. I'd give it 5 stars. Like if you were telling me what's a match to show somebody that doesn't watch wrestling that's going to get them hooked and into it, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Falls Count Anywhere, or Last Man Standing, whatever it was, SummerSlam. Awesome. Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn, WrestleMania. Awesome. Bad Bunny, Damian Priest, Backlash. Awesome. So, it doesn't have to be a work rate technical masterpiece in order to be 5 stars in my mind. Because, the business is sports entertainment's actually a perfect way to describe it. And I think that's been the biggest criticism I've had of AEW is just like random match after random match after random match. Okay, why do I care? Now, again, they've brought in an energy to the business, so they should be appreciated for that. And they showed Sting a certain level of reverence. And the Darby Allin thing, look, again, that, I'd be hypocritical to love Mick Foley and what he did, and to love Jeff Hardy and some of what he did, and not praise the spot in a sense. Was it objectively cool to see? Yes. It was objectively cool to see. But yeah, I don't know why a match would go past 5 stars. Doesn't make any sense. But look, Dave Meltzer's been doing this a long time. He's got a devoted following. I know the internet community likes to hate on him too. Everybody's got their place. He's always been cool to me when I've talked to him. So I got no I'm just having fun. It just makes no sense. 5-star. You know who railed on the match was he always does this with AEW stuff. Jim Cornette. And Jim Cornette once crushed me on his show because it was the what was it? It was the anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob, right? And I did a little piece for SI real quick, impromptu, about how Brett screwed Brett. And boy, did it piss people off. Because I believe that. I still believe that Brett screwed Brett. I think Brett should have lost that match. I don't care what the other details were. I don't care what his contract said. I don't care how much of an asshole Shawn Michaels was. It made no sense for him to go over. And could it have been handled differently? Sure. And I say that as somebody who loved Bret Hart growing up. I mean, I told you about watching those matches with my brother, watching those matches and going back and seeing the Rockers and the Hart Foundation. I remember Shawn Michaels from the Rockers, and I remember Bret Hart from the Hart Foundation. And those guys always stood out. It was kind of like seeing Beyonce and Destiny's Child or Justin Timberlake and NSYNC. You knew there was something there. So I had no malice towards Bret, but boy, did Jim Cornette crush me on his podcast. It was very entertaining. And he made some points because I'll be honest with you, I threw the piece together very quickly. I used to do it was called Unchecked, this daily column I did, video column, and I did a take every day. And, not all takes are as well thought out or well put together. And again, we saw the anniversary. We went real quick on that. And it wasn't the most fleshed out point. It wasn't the most well-written thing I've ever done. But the core of it, I still believe. And I got no problems with putting it into the universe. I mean, it got the reaction. I mean, like I was circling back to the beginning of the show and the comments that I'm getting on this channel. I'm good at that. Like I'm good at engaging people and getting reactions. Something about my opinions, something about the way I present them makes people want to discuss them. And that's part of the reason I do what I do for a living, right? So I put that in the unit, but then he said it was like the writing of a third grader or a second grader. Crushed me on his little podcast. Well, I shouldn't say little podcast, much bigger than this one. His big podcast. He's entertaining though, but he likes to rant and rave and do that thing. You could find that episode, I'm sure. I'd have to, but yeah, I know you can't invoke Vince McMahon either nowadays, but I'm not defending Vince. No one's defending Vince. We all know Vince did some shady stuff, and we all know Vince is not a necessarily the most ethical dude at all points in time, but I do think he was in the right in the spirit of that. I do. Kurt Angle has 0 5-star matches. Once I realized that his star rating became irrelevant, I think he's talking about Meltzer. How many does Shawn Michaels have? Because you talk about work rate. I mean, to me, Shawn is the best that ever did it in the ring. When, Shawn could have a great match with anybody. He had a great match with Psycho Sid and Diesel and Foley and Stone Cold and Brett and Taker. I mean, everybody. Vader. Shawn Michaels had great matches with everybody. To me, he's the GOAT in the ring. No question about it. I mean, he was my favorite for a while. Brett was probably my first favorite wrestler. No, you know who my first favorite wrestler was? Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was my first favorite wrestler. I remember he was like the ultimate babyface too. I remember Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage, WrestleMania 3. That was a classic, right? And he had gotten his larynx attacked by Macho Man. Same WrestleMania that Hulk Hogan slammed Andre in. That was really the event that catapulted pro wrestling into the mainstream. And he was my first favorite. Then it was probably Bret the Hitman Hart. And at that time, there was no being peeled behind the curtain or anything like that. And when Bret won the title, I was legitimately surprised. I think did he beat Bob Backlund for it? I was legitimately surprised and happy. And then it was probably Shawn. The whole Rockers turn I loved even as a kid into the sexy boy gimmick. And then it was probably Stone Cold. I remember watching that King of the Ring promo. I don't know if it was live, but I remember watching it as live. Like I said, watching those tapes and watching it for the first time. I hadn't seen it before. So experiencing it live. And then it was probably The Rock. And now it's Roman Reigns, Tribal Chief. And I was a Roman hater too. I mean, I always thought Roman was stale and boring. But this version of Roman is not. I love Roman now. In fact, when I copped his Needle Mover shirt, that was the first wrestling apparel I had gotten since probably the Attitude Era, and the Austin 316 shirt, which was the coolest thing in the world that you could have in high school. Like when I was in high school in that era, the Austin 316 shirt. So I think the verdict from you guys is that you like the Darby Allin spot. And I'm going to defer to the fans here. I'm not going to, rant and rave and pretend I know better than the fans who actually are watching it and digesting it and retain. Was it dumb and stupid? Yes, it was dumb and stupid. I think he has to be careful to not make that his only thing, where he has to chase that every time from here on out. That's going to make it tough. But and AEW has to be careful to not only be known for these crazy moments. But I preferred this, like I said, to the Swerve Hangman drinking blood thing. That was just gross to me. But was it cool? It was cool. It was cool. It looked sick. And it was actually executed very well, all things considered, as well as you can execute what he did there. Flying off a ladder through a glass, breaking it. From now on, though, leave the glass breaking to Stone Cold Steve Austin. All right, guys, that was what I had on the rundown for today's show. Let me see if anything else is going on while we're live here that I may want to talk about. I see LinkedIn was down. Sorry, I got nothing to say on LinkedIn. I really don't like being on LinkedIn. I'm on there, but it's not my favorite place to be. No, I can't lie to you. But check me out. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Go. Follow me on all the other platforms. I'm still Robin Lundberg on X and Twitter. That's where I had the biggest following first, and Facebook, I think. I might be the Robin Lundberg on Facebook. No, I'm Robin Lundberg on Facebook. I'm the Robin Lundberg on Instagram, TikTok, and of course here on YouTube. And like I said, that the comments are really building on the YouTube channel. So I love seeing that. Like I was out dropping my daughter off at her practice and my son off at his practice. And every time I would open the phone, I get a new comment on some video. Some of them from, a couple hours ago, some of them from a couple days ago, some of them from this show, the live stream. The Caitlin Clark episode yesterday did very well. A lot of comments. The LeBron episode from a few days ago did very well. A lot of comments. And then a bunch of the shorts that I, of course, am populating the feed with, because that's, where it's at nowadays, the short digital video. And I've kind of mastered that over the last several years at SI. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm going to figure out how to orient myself one of these days. It's like the hardest thing in the world. For somebody who's been on camera as much as I've, like, subscribe, comment on the channel. We talked for recap for anybody just tuning in, whether the Darby Allin glass spot was dope or dumb. I say it's both, but especially having talked it through, I lean more dope. We talked a little bit about Nelly's hip-hop legacy, and I think he has every right to toot his own horn, considering what he accomplished. Talked about the NBA play-in and how it could save the playoffs. It's a really good idea. It's going to get LeBron and Luka and KD and Steph and make sure they're there. And then a little bit about Josh Allen being underrated after these Bills moves were made. Let's see. Anything else is it fair to say Sting had the best last match of all time? I mean, Flair and Michaels is so does the Shawn match afterwards count? I don't think it really counts. Did he have any It was just the Saudi match after the Undertaker match, right? Was there another one? I'm not even counting that. We'll just pretend that one didn't happen. Ric Flair, has had he had the Shawn Michaels match, the I Love You, and then whatever's, the other stuff feels like, yeah, I guess if you want to say final match and he's never going to appear in the ring again, it's a possibility. And I think he got the proper send-off. Like I said, AEW did a good job with Sting. They did a good job handling him and, making sure there was a certain level of reverence. Because like I said, I think Sting is the biggest non-WWE wrestling star of all time. Not known for WWE really at all. Nelly is less than Furtado. Look, the Nelly Furtado joint was slamming. The one that Timbaland did, that was slamming. I love that album. Great album. But, I'm not going to hate on Nelly either. Nelly he was hot there for a minute. For more than a minute. He had a really good run. And, and he's right. He did cut through when those other records were big. I mean, he was big around the same time that Hove had I Just Want to Love You out there, and 50 had In the Club out there, and what would be Lose Yourself and the like were probably Eminem show. Well, this looks like a job for me, so everybody just follow me. That was probably around that time. And Outkast, that was probably around Speaker Box and Love Below with Hey Ya and The Way You Move. So there's a lot of competition. Forgot about Cast and how big that double album was when it came out. I mean, some of those releases, the Dynasty and I think Stankonia came out on the same day. I remember that. And then you go way back, Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, and Enter the Wu-Tang famously came out on the same day. All right, guys, that'll do it for me here on tonight's show. Unless you got any other comments to get in, I will be back tomorrow. I'll see what time I start. Like I said, the times could be a little flexible depending on what I got going on, what events are going on. I didn't want to do an AEW-based show during the middle of Dynamite, so I went on a few minutes earlier. I had things scheduled for 8 p.m., but let's just say it's a rolling window, probably in the 7 to 9 range, roughly Monday through Thursday as we continue to evolve. But I appreciate you guys being here on a night-to-night basis. I appreciate the comments. I know I say that all the time, but I say it because I mean it. And for anybody who's new checking out the show, I appreciate you doing that as well. And I just want to remind you of this one thing. LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. I don't know what else to tell you. I can't, can't argue with reality sometimes. Sometimes we have to look the truth in the face and face it. You have to see the truth. And you have to say, I accept it. So for any of you out there who are seeing that and don't accept it, you need to accept it. LeBron James. Look, I got the right finger pointing. LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. Toodles, y'all. I'm just messing around now. All right. Until tomorrow, when it will be same Robin time, same Robin channel. Peace out, guys.